My name is Helen Muller and I'm a PhD student based jointly at the Zoological Society of London and at University College London in the Anthropology Department. I'm an interdisciplinary conservation scientist, which means that I try and understand both the wildlife or environmental side of conservation and the people side. And today I'm going to be talking to you about my work on trophy hunting and what can happen when you ban it. Now at this point you may have two questions. What on earth does trophy hunting have to do with wildlife conservation anyway? Isn't it about killing animals? And what has that got to do with people? Now, trophy hunting does involve killing animals. Trophy hunters will travel to a wide range of places to find animals to shoot so that they can bring back a trophy. Now, this may be an animal's head, its skin, or its tusks. Now, trophies are often judged based on their size, so trophy hunters tend to try and find the biggest animals to kill, and these are typically the older and adult males. And they pay a lot of money to do this. Now, even though some animals are killed, the money that trophy hunting brings in can help persuade farmers or governments or communities that they want to use their land to generate money in this way. So instead of changing it into a farm to grow crops like sweet corn or maize, or filling it with cows, their land will stay as natural habitat that's suitable for wild animals to live in. Money can also pay for rangers to patrol these areas to prevent illegal hunting. This can be for the illegal wildlife trade, hunting animals like elephants or rhinos and selling it for ivory and horn, but more common is hunting wildlife for informal and uncontrolled markets and selling it for meat. And at current rates, this is unsustainable, because here it doesn't matter which animals you take, whether it's young or old, male or female, all of them are killed. Now, the difference with trophy hunting, if it's carefully managed, is that only old and adult males are taken, and these have probably already had a chance to produce offspring. And in this way, the population of the hunted animals aren't necessarily harmed. What's more, with the money that is generated to protect the environment and wildlife, trophy hunting can help conserve wildlife from two of its main threats, and these are habitat loss and unsustainable use. So banning trophy hunting without alternative sources of money can mean that land is converted for other uses and wildlife is left unprotected. But what has this got to do with people? Besides the hunters themselves, who I don't study, there are also a lot of other people who live in the areas that trophy hunting takes place, who are involved in or affected by trophy hunting in many different ways. Many of these people are poor, they live in quite remote rural areas, and they rely on small-scale farming and what they can get from the environment for their food. Some of these people can work for the hunting companies, doing jobs like cooking and cleaning in the camps, or jobs using traditional skills like tracking and skinning the animals. People living nearby also often get the meat from the trophy animals, which can help feed their families. Another way that people are involved is through community organisations, which get some or all of the money that comes in from trophy hunting. And this money can go to help the community, doing things like building schools or clinics, or paying for funerals and scholarships. And these things together are meant to make wildlife a good thing to have around, because through trophy hunting, wildlife can bring benefits. And these benefits are really quite important, because wildlife is actually very difficult to live around. Lions and other predators eat people's cows and goats, while elephants and buffalo and many other animals actually trample people's crops. And some of these animals can also just be dangerous to humans. So trophy hunting and the money and benefits that it brings in is one way of balancing out these costs that local people face from living near wildlife. These benefits can also stop people from retaliating and killing wildlife that gives them problems, and may also stop people from hunting for wildlife for meat, for either themselves or to sell to markets. People may also choose to farm in a smaller area so that they can set aside more land for wildlife. And all of these things can help to conserve wildlife in those areas. Now, there are questions over how much of all of this takes place, which I won't go into now, but we can chat about it in the Q&A. Now, despite all these ways that trophy hunting can help conserve wildlife, many people can't get past the idea that it involves killing animals. Some might also not know that trophy hunting can help conserve wildlife at all. Either way, there are growing calls to ban trophy hunting around the world. A big uncertainty, however, is we don't actually know what happens when you do this. In particular, we don't really know how local communities involved in trophy hunting might be affected by these sorts of decisions. To find out, I went to Botswana, which put in place a temporary ban on trophy hunting, also called a moratorium, for 5 years. I went to live in 2 villages which had been involved in trophy hunting to find out how the ban had affected people living there. I spent 6 months in these villages, speaking to people there, following them around, asking what their lives were like, and how things had changed with the hunting ban. This research method is called ethnography. In both villages, people spoke about how the loss of jobs and the loss of meat had affected them. No longer getting meat, in particular, affected the poorest in the village the most, because they relied on it the most for food. Some went from eating meat almost every day when there was hunting, to only being able to afford to have it once a month. This highlights a really important aspect of social science work in conservation, which is that different people within communities might be affected differently by conservation decisions. An unexpected finding was that one of the biggest changes in both villages was that people felt that the elephant population had increased since the hunting ban. They felt that elephants were coming into the villages more and that they were no longer afraid of people. People believed that hunting had been controlling the elephant population and keeping them out of the villages. After the hunting ban, elephants had started destroying people's fields even more than before, which in turn was affecting how people were able to feed themselves. People were also now afraid of going out into the local area in case they bumped into a dangerous animal. Women in particular were afraid to go about and do daily tasks such as collecting firewood or wild fruit or water than they were before the hunting ban. Almost everyone that I spoke to in both villages wanted trophy hunting to be brought back because their lives had changed for the worse. What this highlights is that when making a conservation decision, like banning trophy hunting, it's important to think about who it might affect. Will it only affect animals and the environment, or will it also affect people? What might happen to the people in those areas? What might they think about such decisions? These are some of the important questions asked by interdisciplinary conservation scientists, because even though conservation is often about animals and the environment, it almost always involves people in some way or another. And it's those people who will not only feel the consequences of conservation decisions, but they're also the ones who are most likely to bring about the positive outcomes, like protecting wildlife, that conservation aims to achieve.